Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Monday, January 6th, Ian Cameron with you. Alex B. Smith is back as well. He'll be alongside momentarily. 4 games tonight in the NHL on this Monday. We'll break those down for you in just a moment. Congratulations to Team USA. First of all, World Junior Hockey Championship gold medal winners last night in a very entertaining game against Finland. Exciting hockey, back and forth it went. What I like about the U.S. and the way they won that game is they fell behind 3-1. Real gut check for them at that point in the game. Finland was really playing well in the first period and a half. And the U.S. had to find some resolve, find some stick-to-itiveness in themselves as a team, and find a way to battle back in that game. And they did that. Very, very impressive comeback win. And it doesn't hurt that yours truly jumped in at a plus 240 money line price live on the U.S. when they were down 3-1 in that game against Finland, and it was great to see them come back and win it. They were all over Finland in overtime, and credit to the Finnish netminder who was absolutely outstanding. Really gave them every chance to try to win that game, held them in it. But Petteri Rimponen, man, this guy, we'll see what becomes of him at the NHL level, but man, he was very impressive. He's a big part of why Finland got to the gold medal game in the first place. So I was very impressed with his performance in net for the Finns. Rimponen, just some incredible saves, even in overtime before finally the U.S. put it away with the game-winning overtime goal. And what's always cool about some of these games is that you don't always get the guy you expect to score. Like you would have expected maybe Gabe Perreault to score. You would have expected maybe the captain, Ryan Leonard, who had a bunch of chances to maybe score that game-winning goal for the U.S., but it was Teddy Stiga who got the goal on a breakaway and finally beat Rimponen for the game winner, and the U.S. get their second straight World Junior Hockey Championship gold medal. For the first time in history, the U.S. winning back-to-back gold medals. Obviously, they've won it a handful of times previously, but never back-to-back until last night. And lo and behold, the U.S. will have a chance for a three-peat for the first time in their history next year when the World Junior Hockey Championship descends on Alex B. Smith's door in Minnesota next year in 2026. Alex, figured we'd start the show there with the U.S. Giving their flowers and their roses for back-to-back World Junior Gold.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it before, where the landscape of international hockey has changed. Canada is no longer the only power. Russia is not only the only power now. You have these growing nations like Finland and Sweden for quite some time that are playing at a high level, and now the USA has caught up to everybody. There's no more miracles with this nation and
it ain't a miracle when they win anymore. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
No, and that's wonderful to see. You want it to be competitive, balanced, and like I said, it makes this 4 nations tournament that we talked about. And I know, I listen. I'm the most critical about international hockey. Did I watch 1 minute of this World Juniors tournament? I actually did watch a little bit when it started when I was back home, but that was about it. But if we're going to grow the game using the international formats, having America play well in the juniors, having this 4 nations tournament coming up next month, having the Olympics rolling back around with NHL players, this is the momentum you want to have, and this is how you get players coming out of places that we don't expect hockey players to come from. How you get someone from Omaha, Nebraska, or New Mexico, or California, these different states where they always say, oh, you don't even have ice in these places, and now all of a sudden you have hockey players from all over this country growing and developing and playing at a high level. So that's the beauty of it all at the end of the day, is that you have more hockey being played, you have more hockey players being developed and reaching their ultimate goals. So cheers to the USA for getting another gold medal. Like you said, next year it'll be here. I have to figure out some way to I don't know if I'm gonna maybe rent my apartment out or something, or try and get some tickets and boost them or whatever. But obviously it's going to be buzzing here, with it being Christmas time and the New Year, and just all the hullabaloo of having international hockey here in St. Paul.
Yeah, no question. We are that'll be fun with the and Minnesota deserve that. They'll support that World Junior Hockey Championship as well as any place in Canada. There's no question about that. And like I said, it'll be a great host market and a great host city for the World Junior Hockey Championship. And like I said, U.S. is here to stay. We are on a golden age of U.S. hockey at junior level, pro level. The U.S. National Team Development Program has been a godsend for furthering the development of USA hockey. And you can see just the quality of talent and the number of players that are being developed through that pipeline. And like I said, now coming up, Four Nations face-off in a month, Olympics next year. Team USA is going to ice as good a roster on paper as they've ever iced in years, if not decades. That just tells you how they are right there as one of the. They are, in fact, if you were to make the international hockey nation power rankings right now, you'd have to put the U.S. number one at the moment. You would, and I know longevity wise, you're going to say, well, because of all the success historically, you still got to make Canada number one. No, I'm talking about fast power ratings. I'm talking about quick, short term, current form. We always talk about how important current form is in our NHL handicapping. Current form right now, power rankings, there's no one you would put up there at number one right now besides Team USA. It's that simple. End of story.
Well, and then of course you've also got Russia kind of harming their own issues diplomatically and politically, and not being recognized as being unified team or what have you when they're in the Olympics, or not even being involved, say in the Four Nations, where that was the biggest gripe when they announced the Four Nations were going to be U.S., Canada, Finland, Sweden. People were thinking there was going to be Czechia, Russia, which I'd like to think if we do this around, in between the Olympics again, that would be the two nations that you swap out, Finland and Sweden, and you bring those two nations in, because they are ones, like I said, if you're talking about power rankings, they're certainly involved in the top six. So you can't forget about them. But like you said, the landscape has changed.
It certainly has. And like I said, congrats again to the U.S. And right now they are on top of the hockey world as far as I'm concerned. Now, that could change in a month from now when the Four Nations face-off takes place. But like I said, right now, when you talk about international events, and certainly at the junior level, there's no one better than the U.S. at the moment with back-to-back World Junior Hockey Championship gold medals. All right, quickly on Sunday, there's not a lot to say. I warned everybody yesterday, and I know I took the Blackhawks yesterday, but even I said, you've got to see this team put good games together, stack good days in a row. It's all nice to hear, how we got back to playing the way we know we're capable of with the Montreal game, but you got to follow it up and play well again. And Chicago was not able to do that yesterday against the Rangers, losing 6-2 to the Rangers, with Louis Domingue in net, who had, as I mentioned yesterday, a 3.6 goals against average in the American Hockey League this season, and yet only the Blackhawks able to get 2 goals past him. Arvid Soderblom, not one of his best days by far, but at the same point in time, that's a disappointing step back against a struggling Rangers team on home ice for the Blackhawks to lose like that by a score of 6-2. The good news is I was on an over by Fecta, and I know Alex loved the first period over, which I mentioned was his best bet on the show yesterday, even though he was not on. I mentioned that was his best bet, and it gets there easily with that 6-2 Rangers win. And then another game that we both like, the same thing, the over 5.5 with the Islanders and the Bruins, and the Islanders with a 5-4 overtime win. Now, I know for me, and I'm sure it was for Alex too, series history played a big role in liking that over. For some reason, the Islanders and the Bruins, it's just been one over after another. We saw it again in that game, and the Islanders with a 5-4 win against the Bruins. I think the Bruins did a nice job coming back to get a point out of that game, considering they played in Toronto the night before. It was a very intense game. Islanders had a big rest advantage. To be able to come back and get a point, and even though you lost in overtime, pretty good by the Bruins to do that. What a game it was for Anders Lee. He had a couple of goals. Bo Horvat, too. He also had a couple of goals. That's what you're going to need from the New York Islanders. Players like that being that way, consistent, moving forward if they're going to try to get themselves back into playoff contention. The system play, which let us down Saturday in the New Jersey-San Jose game, roared back strong for us yesterday with Pittsburgh and Carolina. That game fit the system with Carolina shut out by Minnesota on Saturday, and then they bounced back with a 4-3 win in overtime against Pittsburgh yesterday. That was a great game for me. Swept the board with that game with the Hurricanes team total over, plus the system play, first period and full game over. Big comeback for Carolina. And really, I wonder what Rod Brindamore said after that first intermission when it was 2-0 Pittsburgh, because that's when the game changed. And Carolina with the 4 goals after that, and they end up with the 4-3 win, comeback style over Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, we lose the over in Philly-Toronto yesterday for yours truly, as it was looking good early. 2-1 Leafs after the first period. I said Hildeby's still a work in progress, and I'm not a big fan of Ivan Fedotov. That being said, both teams played very well defensively. I thought they checked well. Both coaches said that after the game. They tried to make life easier on their goalies. When the goalie had to make a save on both sides, they were both pretty solid, especially Hildeby. Thought Hildeby played a really good game. I think it's kind of a soft first goal for him to give up in that game to Forster. But after that, I thought he played pretty well. Nyes scores again. That's now, 4 goals in 2 games for him. And, of course, Morgan Riley with the overtime winner. And the Leafs on a back-to-back. And, again, this is always a spot the Leafs would lose previously. Back-to-back after a big win. But they don't have that letdown, and they beat the Philadelphia Flyers 3-2 in overtime. And how about Tampa Bay following up New Jersey with a 0-3 California road trip? The Devils and the Lightning this weekend putting the finishing touches on a California road trip to forget. Both teams going 0-3, including Tampa Bay with a 4-1 loss last night to the Anaheim Ducks. Don't look now, Anaheim playing their best hockey of the year. And other than losing the revenge game and the rematch to Edmonton and the Oilers on Friday night in Edmonton, Anaheim is by far playing their best hockey of the season right now. And we'll see if they can continue that moving forward. But Anaheim, with that win against Tampa, now 4-1 in their last 5 games. And you start to look at the quality of teams they've beaten. Edmonton, New Jersey, Winnipeg, Tampa. I mean, it's not like they're lining up and they're beating Chicago or Buffalo or San Jose. You know, they're beating some really good teams in this 4-1 stretch, Anaheim. Impressive run here for the Ducks in the short term. Alex, your thoughts on what we saw Sunday?
Yeah, impressive run in the short term, but I'm not going to be fooled again. I got caught with this last year where the Ducks had a nice little run. Then I made a bet for Ducks to make the playoffs. I made a bet with Cronin to be in the Jack Adams conversation, and then they completely fell off the table. So I'm not going to be fooled by that. Like I said, they have some good stretches. They're still a building team, but I think there's too much in front of them to make any kind of a playoff push. Now, the Hawks game, and like as everyone's mentioned, they've struggled yet again on national TV. They've now lost 7 straight this season, 15 in a row dating back to last year, being on national TV. So, and I think
that's hard to fathom.
It actually isn't, because this actually I think ties a record going back to before the lockout. Which of course, keep in mind, the Hawks didn't have a lot of national games for a stretch, but when they did, they lost like. It was pretty decisively too. So this is actually the second coming of something we've seen with the Hawks. Just laying eggs on national TV when the time you really want to be showcasing, especially Connor Bedard and these younger players, they just aren't getting it together right now. And the more I watch the Hawks now, and the more I realize that it's Captain Anders Sorensen and it's head coach Nick Foligno. Like, everything runs through him. He's the one with the quote every night. He's the one saying that this team's got to play better, that he's sick of the bullshit. And at some point, that's got to be Sorensen. You hear him pregame saying, well, what we need to do and things need to change. He's got the game script, but that's
he's trying to ingratiate himself too much to the players right now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that was maybe the Hawks, that was their thought process going in, bringing him up was, okay, he knows these guys well. He's been around them for so long. He's been around this organization for so long. Let's see what he can do at the top of this level. And I think, no, it seems like this may be reaching it just a little bit too far. AHL might have been his full reach as far as how he envelops guys as a coach. Now, skill set and obviously strategizing, yeah, I'd love to see him stick around as an assistant. But there's no way that Anders Sorensen is going to be the guy leading this franchise past this season the way that this stretch has gone. The lows have already far outweighed the highs. And even with a bunch of games left in the season, and there's still more time. I'm sure younger guys going to get called up. I don't even know who's going to be traded because every veteran that's supposed to be a trade piece right now looks so damn bad. What the fuck is Taylor Hall doing? Taylor Hall has just been Mr.
He was doing
Cardio
a Spit and Chicklets
most
interview
nights.
last week. I saw that.
Yeah, right. And then everybody in the chat was asking, "Where's the Spit and Chicklets gold bump?" He's he can
Right.
be so fucking invisible some nights. And he's supposed to be the guy that's supposed to be shadowing and right there alongside Bedard on the top line. He's been shuffled around because he hasn't done anything. The same thing. Pat Maroon, he got a goal the other night, which was fantastic. He got a goal and a fight the other night. And it's the first time he's done anything in about 3 weeks. And yet he's played every single fucking night. There's some guys that, Alec Martinez injured. Laurent Brossoit, I don't even want to start with that. All these guys who were supposed to be chips and pieces that we can move to clear out space for the young guys, and they were supposed to be, playing well and developing with these young guys that are up. They aren't doing shit. And so now you got this Hawks team that's just an absolute mess. You might as well tank out and try and get a draft pick at this point and just punt on this season as the retool and the this was supposed to be the year to build up the wins and getting used to winning games and beating teams that are better than you. That's not going to happen, it seems like. So punt on this season, trade away all the pieces you can, try and get more draft picks, and then next year's got to be a now or never season, especially with whoever Kyle Davidson hires, if it's even Kyle Davidson hiring.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're going to start wondering about that, if this continues the way it is. And just to make Alex feel better about Laurent Brossoit's situation, he's not skating yet, and his return to the team is apparently still not imminent. Yet he was skating on the ice for the Christmas gathering or some Christmas celebration I saw for the
return to the team. You got to be with the team to return to the team. He hasn't fucking played yet. This man has not played. This man has not put on a full Blackhawk uniform and played in any meaningful game, exhibition or regular season.
No. But he was skating, I think, with the club for some, I don't know, before the Winter Classic or I don't know.
Oh, with the family skate bullshit and the season ticket holder.
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
And he was supposed to be a big part of, what was supposed to be making this team better. Because we think there's a good goalie in there, but he hasn't played. He hasn't played
He was
yet.
supposed to be the number one goalie. No one said it out loud except us. But he was supposed to be the number one goalie this year. We were not expecting Arvid Soderblom to turn around and actually be decent. We were not expecting Peter Mrazek to revert back to being a bum. It was supposed to be Laurent Brossoit, regardless of any of that, taking the reins as the number one goalie, and he has done nothing. Literally nothing.
We just get some big bullshit about this injury or whatever the fuck he's had and hasn't played yet. And this is a guy that we brought that. Look, I thought coming off a year where he played at times better than Connor Hellebuck last year for the Winnipeg Jets. That's how good he was. That's why we were so excited.
Carried Vegas.
Yeah.
This is the guy for the last 3 years we've been talking about and praising. Oh, he's getting into that range of being a potential number one, and he was his shot.
This was his chance, and it's just we haven't even seen him on the ice yet this year. A game. It's just unfortunate. It's just the Chicago season so far. Yep, in a nutshell. All right, let's get to Monday's action. We'll begin with Washington, Buffalo. We've got the Capitals here, minus 150 road favorite, 6 the total. For Buffalo, this is that dreaded spot. You're coming back home off a long road trip, and it's not just a long road trip. It's going all the way back to December the 15th, middle of December. It's back-to-back road games in Toronto and Montreal, back home for one game against Toronto, road against the Boston Bruins and New York Islanders, back home for one game after Christmas against Chicago, and then it's the 4 games on the road, St. Louis, Dallas, Colorado, Vegas. Now, the good news for Buffalo is the Christmas break did split up all this consecutive game travel situation for them, but still not a great set scheduling spot at all for Buffalo. And while the road trip got off to a decent start against St. Louis with the nice win against the Blues, that was their 3rd straight win. It's now been 3 straight losses since then to wipe out the 3 wins they had following the epic 13-game losing streak. So it's 3 straight losses here for Buffalo as they return home against Washington. I can't back Buffalo, but here's the thing. Washington, you're not getting a cheap price by any stretch at minus 150. You could argue it, but then you look at series history. Washington's actually had a tough time in this building. KeyBank Center's not been kind to the Capitals. They've lost 3 straight times here in Buffalo when these two teams have met. And here's another series where 10 meetings between the Caps and Sabres, the last 10, 7, 1, and 2 to the over. Lots of high-scoring games between these two teams, and that's kind of where I'm going to go here. And don't look now, the Washington Capitals starting to fire up a little over first period run all over again. Remember, they had that crazy, huge first period over streak, a month or two ago. It got to the point, I think, where it was 15-2 or something at one point with the first period overs involving Washington. Well, don't look now. Suddenly, we're starting to get the Washington first period overs cranking up again for this hockey team going into this particular matchup here against the Buffalo Sabres. It's now 5 straight first period overs for the Capitals going into this game. So I'm on over by Fecta here. First period over, full game over. Sidewise, it's tough. Really tough spot for Buffalo. Washington's clearly the better team. Washington has lost 3 in a row in Buffalo. And for some reason, and the Sabres do always play the Capitals tough. Even the most recent meeting, the Caps and Sabres in Washington, it was 4-2 Washington. That game was pretty close throughout. In fact, Buffalo had a 2-0 lead in that game. And at 3-1 after the first 2 periods, Caps come back and they end up winning it 4-2. Actually, it was 2-1 Buffalo, and then 3 unanswered goals for Washington to win 4-2 in that one. So over by Fecta for me. Alex, what do you think here, Washington-Buffalo?
Yeah, riding the over by Fecta as well, but I love the first period over even more. Everybody in the chat is all over it. 8 of the last 9 meetings between these two teams have hit over in the first period. And I didn't really even realize this when Lando mentioned. First period over is hit in each of the Sabres' last 7 games following a loss on the road. That's an interesting stat as well. So you combine that with, like I said, Washington being on another hot run again. It seemed to be with Ovechkin, of course, getting back. That seems to be kind of
That's it.
The straw that stirs the drink. So yeah, first period over. Like I said, I laid 130 at FanDuel is the best price available. There's a 135 at Fanatics and at Caesars. Anything higher than 140, I would say wait a couple minutes and grab it in game. And then with the over 6s, you can grab those pregame. So that's how I'm doing that.
Yeah, and I like the full game over 6-2. I mean, 7, 1, and 2 is what we're looking at with overs in the last 10 meetings, Washington versus Buffalo. And these series history, falling back on the series history as far as overs have been concerned, when you see a series history trending strong to the over, it's been really cashing in a lot lately. Rangers, Panthers, Penguins, Islanders, Kraken, Canucks. You really go on down the list. Like yesterday, there was Islanders Bruins yesterday. Another one. I mean, there's been many of these where it's just been 9 out of 10 overs, 8 out of 10 overs. In this case, 7, 2, and 1. And if you've been riding and banking on that, the series history to come through for you, you've been rewarded. So again, that's a big part of why we're on the over by Fecta here. As far as props go, I'm coming back to Zucker. It's not going to be bargain bin, but you can't deny how red hot he is for the Buffalo Sabres right now. He was my bargain bin special for Saturday. You're still going to get, pretty good prices for Jason Zucker. Since he's been up on that top line, he's been clearly outstanding here for the Buffalo Sabres. He got their only goal against Vegas. You're not getting the bargain bin tonight, but you're still getting plus 280. Still a pretty good price top line with how well he's produced for the Washington Capitals, for the Buffalo Sabres. I'd take a shot just because of the former player angle. 4th line player, he doesn't score a lot, but he works hard for Buffalo. Beck Malenstein, plus 950. There's someone that used to be with the Washington Capitals. So maybe you take a small shot with Beck there, Beck Malenstein, plus 950 for the Buffalo Sabres, maybe to find the back of the net here in this one. And then it's kind of the usual suspects as far as the other players to score. Ovechkin, Protas, McMichael, the same guys, Wilson, the same guys we've talked about. They've been getting a lot of good contributions from all of them as far as offense is concerned. All right, Vancouver and Montreal. Next up here, we've got the Vancouver Canucks around minus 130, road favorites. The total 6 here pretty much across the board. Some books do have 5.5 with this total, juiced to the over, of course. So make sure you shop around if you like the 5.5 here in this game. I should point out we don't have the goalie confirmed yet for Beck Malenstein's out apparently for Buffalo tonight, so scratch that. He's not playing, it looks like. So there goes that idea. But nevertheless, it looks like UPL projected for Buffalo, and it is Charlie Lindgren who's going to get the start here as Washington continues to go back and forth. And JJ Peterka with good success against Lindgren, says Jonathan in the chat. So keep an eye on that. Might be worth a look there for a prop as well. For Vancouver, Montreal, the first thing we have to start off by saying with this game, and it's what you see clearly when you first look to handicap this game, Alex. It's a slam dunk Vancouver spot on paper because you got Montreal coming off the long road trip, the successful road trip, a brilliant road trip where other than the trap spot falling flat against Chicago, they beat all the good teams, the Lightning, the Panthers, the Golden Knights, the Avs. What a road trip. 4 wins against that quality quartet of teams for Montreal. Extremely impressive, obviously, with what they were able to do to beat Colorado, Vegas, Tampa Bay, and Florida, all on that road trip. Extremely impressive from the Montreal Canadiens, but this is another kind of trap spot. They fell into this against Chicago. Will they fall into it here against Vancouver, returning home off an ultra-successful road trip, beating all those good teams, and the first game home after this, and this is a lengthy sojourn away from home. 5 games post-Christmas, 6 games in a row on the road, if you include the game in Columbus that they had right before Christmas. So this has been a long time away from home for Montreal. It's a slam dunk Vancouver spot. Slam dunk, no question. But there are things I'm worried about for the Canucks and why I haven't bet them yet. I'll tell you why. Because they're struggling, clear as day. They're only 2-7 in their 2-6, I should say, in their last 8 games. They beat Seattle once, and they beat San Jose once. And the Seattle game, they had survived and win in a shootout. They're not winning games easily, and they're not winning many games at all right now. And the reason for that is because of the injuries. And we know this team is decimated right now with, say what you will about Pettersson and his struggles, but they miss him. They do. Even though he hasn't obviously performed to the level we think he's capable of, they miss him when he's not in the lineup. And obviously Quinn Hughes, they miss him big time. There was talk he might return tonight. We're seeing conflicting reports. Some people have said he's out again. Some people have said he's a game-time decision. So we're going to have to wait on this, and that's why I haven't moved on this game. Quinn Hughes is that important. He is that important to this hockey team because they're already without Phil Hronek, who's the number 2 defenseman on the team. And without Hughes and Hronek, they've had major problems. They're asking guys that have zero business being on a top pair in the NHL on defense to do the job with Hronek and with Hughes out. And you're seeing the issues that Vancouver's had as a result. I mean, with all due respect, these are solid pros, solid NHL defensemen that they've got back there. But I'm sorry, you're telling me that Tyler Myers and even the other night, Derek Forbort, as a top pair defenseman, that's not a chance that that's the case. There is no way that a playoff team or a Stanley Cup contending team in the NHL that's worth a damn as far as winning it all is going to have a Tyler Myers or a Derek Forbort on their top pair on the blue line. It's not happening. None. No way. So that's where they're at right now without Hronek and Hughes. They got to mix and match some combination of Myers, Juleson. I like Soucy. Even he's not really a top pair defense, but I like him. But he's not a top pair defenseman. But Myers, Juleson, Forbort, Desharnais, Soucy. I mean, you've got issues there as far as depth is concerned. And that's why Vancouver's struggling. That's how big Hughes' absence is. Not to mention he plays the shit ton of minutes that he plays in all situations, 5-on-5 even strength, power play, penalty kill. And it's just not, and they just don't have the personnel and depth on the blue line to make up for that. It's just that simple. So with no Hughes, no Vancouver for me in this game. It's that simple. So I'm waiting on that. I do think it's a good spot to maybe fade Montreal and back Vancouver, but I cannot move on it until I know Hughes is in. And as of now, it looks like we're not going to find that out until 30 minutes before the game begins when the pregame skate takes place. But what I am on in this game, and I got to admit, this is like New Jersey, San Jose again, where I'm a little concerned because Vancouver scoring has not always been strong for them lately. And obviously the big absence, Hughes fuels the offense, fuels the rush up the ice and all that. But we do have the system play here. And Vancouver off the shutout loss to Nashville on Friday night, 3-0. And so because of that, I am on the over by Fecta here. You know, it's the system's the system. Even when I've got my concerns that this is not the greatest team or the greatest spot to take the system play, you take the system play if you believe the system works. And the numbers prove that long-term the system works. And we do have Vancouver off a shutout loss here. So I am on first period over 1.5, full game over. I got 5.5 with the full game over which you can find at -124 at Bet Rivers, -120 at Pinnacle, -125 at DraftKings. So shop around. You can get 5.5, in that price range. Definitely prefer that than the 6. So over bifecta with the system play. I like the spot for Vancouver. A, I don't like the price, and B, there's not a chance in hell that I am taking Vancouver without Quinn Hughes tonight. And yes, Rich H., thanks for the reminder. It's on Monday. It's only on Prime. That's right, in the John Forsland voice. It is an Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey game tonight, Vancouver and Montreal. Alex, what do you think here? Canucks, Canadians.
Yeah, I mean, you broke it down perfectly, especially with Vancouver. Like I said, that defense is such patchwork, but at the same time, this is such a bad spot for Montreal, returning home off of a very successful road trip. That's why I'm glad that we have the system play at our advantage, and the prices are right for it too. And laying $1.20 with over 1.5. Like I said, I just saw that 5.5 at -125 at DraftKings. So, loving the system play with the over bifecta here, but that's all I'm going to be doing. Maybe a sprinkle on the draw, if anything, but like I said, don't want anything to do with the Canucks right now with that patchwork defense. Don't want anything to do with the Habs in this bad of a spot. Any other time, this would be a buy for Montreal at plus price. If they win this game, you're probably not seeing a whole lot of plus prices next to the Habs name for a while. And, here's the other thing, too. We always talk about this with players. We talk about it with the goalies, of course, being the most important piece of a team. But I would say that second most important is your number one defenseman. When you have a Quinn Hughes, or if you're a Colorado, you have a Cale Makar, when you have a guy that plays every facet of the game, penalty kill, power play, and 5-on-5, and how much do you think he's worth to the line necessarily? That's the thing. We try and gauge that. I would say he's worth 10 cents to the line. Would you agree with that?
At least. I would even maybe go 15, 20, quite honest. That's how big.
Yeah.
You know why? Quinn Hughes, you take him off. I'm trying to think a team that's got, an elite blue line or a really good blue line, Carolina or a Florida. Some teams like that. You take him off of a team like that, maybe then you only bump the line 10 cents. But because of the lack of options Vancouver has to fill Quinn Hughes' shoes, it's probably a 20-cent bump with a team like the Canucks, with the lack of depth, the lack of quality they have, in their blue line right now. So I think because of who he's playing for, Vancouver, it's a bigger adjustment for me. No question.
Yeah, because that's something that we always try and quantify with skaters, and it's a little hard to do. But yeah. I would agree with that.
It looks like, by the way, Patrick Laine, he did not play against Colorado Saturday with the illness. Of course, no problem. They won without him. A very impressive win. Jakub Dobeš was outstanding. I don't think we're going to see Jakub Dobeš tonight, though. Sam Montembeault is projected to be in net here for the Habs. Kevin Lankinen, of course, for Vancouver, because Thatcher Demko is still out. So you would expect Kevin Lankinen. And that's another thing that's on Vancouver's side. The road record of Kevin Lankinen this year has been phenomenal. Like I said, I love the spot for Vancouver, but I just cannot get there at -130 with the potential for no Quinn Hughes. Unless I know he's in. It's the only way I would consider back in Vancouver in this particular situation. As far as props go, how about Emil Heineman? Talked about this guy over and over again for the Montreal Canadiens. He's got 2 goals in the last 3 games. He had a couple of great chances against Colorado as well. Certainly could look in that direction as far as a prop is concerned here on their side. Jake Evans has kind of cooled off. We talked about the value he had, certainly, for a period of time. For the Vancouver Canucks, Garland, Suter, Besser's been obviously very solid during this recent run for them. Like I said, they've had trouble scoring, so those have been the guys that have been able to kind of step up here for Vancouver in recent games. All right, Florida, Colorado, what a matchup. Probably the game of the night on paper. The 2 of the more recent Stanley Cup champions. We've got Colorado -125, home favorites, 6.5 the total. Colorado won it 3 years ago. Of course, it was Vegas 2 years ago. And, of course, Florida, the defending champs. So you've got 2 of the last 3, I guess you could say, or 2 of the last 4 Stanley Cup champions going head-to-head here in this matchup. Dare I say it, at 6.5 with what I'm kind of seeing from these 2. Well, first of all, what I'm seeing from Mackenzie Blackwood. And, look, we've done a lot of, as the song says that I've sung over the years on this show, Blackwood shitting in the dead of night. We've had a lot of fun poking holes at Mackenzie Blackwood for struggles, for his consistent injury problems. not staying on the ice, and then having just not being good one game to the next. But some of that was the product of the environment, which was a bad New Jersey defense when he was there. San Jose, which is still a young, inexperienced group, especially on the back end when he was there. This is by far the best team in front of Mackenzie Blackwood that we've seen in quite some time. And we're seeing him thrive so far. He's been excellent. Even in the loss in a shootout to Montreal, he only gives up one goal in regulation and overtime. He, of course, has the victory against Winnipeg by a score of 5-2, was very good in that game. He had to step in for an injured Wedgwood in the Buffalo game, of course. He's been excellent. He's been marvelous. And it does help that he's playing on a pretty solid team in front of him. I mean, the results bear it out. He is undefeated in regulation in his last 6 starts. 5-0-1, 1.68 goals against average, 934 save percentage for Mackenzie Blackwood. We'll see if he can keep it rolling here tonight against Colorado. And this team keeps it rolling. Now, I know they lost in a shootout to Montreal. I thought they played well enough to win. It was just a good battle. Dobish was outstanding in net. And we will see if Colorado can rebound here from that loss against Montreal. Colorado won in Florida 7-4 back in November. So Florida looking for redemption. And Florida, last time they came to Colorado, I remember they absolutely hammered Colorado 8-4 in that game. We'll see if it carries over here. 7-3 to the over in the last 10 meetings between these two teams. I don't know if I'm on board with the over here, quite honestly, as much, though. Florida's offense has looked a little bit out of sorts, a little bit out of sync. The last, I would say, 5 games or so. They get the shutout losses back-to-back to Montreal, Tampa, where they didn't score in 2 straight games. Yeah, they had the outburst against the Rangers, but after back-to-back shutout losses against a struggling Rangers team, you would have expected Florida to have an outburst, and they did with 5 goals. But since then, they only scored 1 against Carolina, and even in the shootout win against Pittsburgh, against a Penguins team, as you know, Alex, they've not been obviously a great defensive team. We're not talking the 90s Devils with Pittsburgh. And Florida only scored 2 goals against them prior to the shootout. So 2 goals in regulation and overtime combined. They're just not clicking. Their power play has kind of leveled off a little bit. Just 1 power play goal the last 5 games for the Florida Panthers. So I'm not running to bet the over. Let's put it that way in this game. I'm actually leaning Colorado here a little bit because of what I just said with Florida. They don't look totally on their game right now. They don't look like they're playing their absolute best hockey right now. The loss to Carolina, shutout by Montreal and Tampa back-to-back. I mean, their wins in the last 5 games, put it this way, they're 2-3 in their last 5 games, and the wins were over the Rangers and the Penguins. Okay, that's nothing to write home about. So, I feel like Colorado off the loss, and prior to that loss, they had won 6 straight games. The Avs, including a win against Winnipeg, which was very impressive. Kind of lean Colorado, and I'm not just assuming that series history means I'm leaning over, but my goodness, I got that feeling with what I've seen with my own 2 eyes lately that Florida's offense is a little out of sync. I'm impressed with what Blackwood's doing, and it's hard to bet an over 6.5 with a guy that's given up 2 goals or less in almost every recent start since he's been a member of the Colorado Avalanche. So I'm leaning Avs, and I'm on the fence with the over. Series history says I should be betting over, but I don't think form-wise I'm in a rush to do that. What do you think here, Alex? Florida, Colorado.
Yeah, this game's kind of tough for me too, and I think it's going to be a pass. Like I said, sidewise, and when I looked at this line, and I kind of, my gut was telling me, oh, look at Florida, but like you said, that's not playing the best of hockey right now. Where Colorado, the team that I just had a bad read on for most of the year too, and it seems like every time I've taken them, especially as a favorite, they've let me down. So I'm just going to pass on this one.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. As far as some props, by the way, Bobrovsky, Blackwood, as we would expect, the goaltending matchup, it will be goalie Bob, of course, for Florida here in this game. I'll throw one out there as far as a little under the radar, maybe goal prop option here for Florida, because he's someone that certainly had chances lately. Jesper Boquist, he had a 2-goal game a few games ago. Someone maybe to consider for Florida down the board. For Colorado, Lehkonen with McKinnon and Rantanen's been a good combination. I'll also say this: Ross Colton, Middlestat, and Drouin. There's really some nice chemistry, starting to find itself with those three particular players as well. So keep an eye on maybe them as far as goal props. That's always the line I like to look at, that second line. And right now it's Colton, Middlestat, and Drouin right now for the Colorado Avalanche. So I think there's some value with them. All right, final game of this Monday card, New Jersey Devils, Seattle Kraken. New Jersey minus 240, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. So again, New Jersey taking money like they did against San Jose. They opened minus 170 all the way up to minus 240, minus 250 here as road favorites in this game. I can't chase New Jersey at this price. They went 0-3 in California, losing to the Kings, the Ducks, and the Sharks. They're stuck in mud right now. They're having a hard time finishing, believe it or not, as far as offense is concerned, the New Jersey Devils. And I know Askarov was very good against them in the loss to San Jose 3-2 the other night. It's 4 straight losses. That's 6 goals in the last 4 games combined. You would not expect New Jersey to be able to have these kind of extended struggles offensively with obviously what they've got at their disposal. Heishier, Bratt, Jack Hughes, Stefan Nason, Timo Meyer, Dawson Mercer, go on down the list. They shouldn't have this many issues scoring, but that's been the issue here. 6 goals in the last 4 games. Will New Jersey bounce back? I'm not laying minus 240 to find out. That is for sure going into this game with New Jersey and Seattle. 3 straight unders for New Jersey because of the issue scoring. Seattle was on a huge overrun that finally came to an end with the 4-2 loss against Edmonton. We'll see how this one plays out. What I will say about Seattle is first period overs have been good. Both teams off a loss. I feel the first period overs is not a bad way to go here in this game. But again, I have concerns about New Jersey's offense drying up. We'll see if they can get it back on track here. They could against Grubauer, because as we know, Philip Grubauer has not had a great season. 5-11, 3.47 goals against average, 879 save percentage with Joey Decord still on IR with the upper body injury. That means we're going to see Philip Grubauer. I personally just feel a lot better about this New Jersey Devils team maybe getting on the board early. Certainly chomping at the bit to get on the board early, considering the struggles on this road trip to score. And Seattle's been one of these teams. They've been either scoring and or giving up goals in the first 20 minutes of late. So the first period over will be a bet for me. Maybe pump the brakes on the full game over, especially because it is, 6 in some spots. But first period over, I could see it. I don't want to do much with the side. New Jersey at this price, not a chance. Probably have to lean by default to Seattle. But Seattle's play hasn't been anything, to write home about. They've been inconsistent. They've been maddening. And they're only 2-7 in their last 9 games with just a win on the road against Vancouver in comeback fashion and a home win against Utah to save for themselves here in the last 9 games. So it's 2 struggling teams. It's hard to get involved with either of them right now. But based on where the price is, I guess by default, it's take Seattle or nothing. I probably prefer nothing. Alex, what do you think here? Final game, Devils. Wow.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you on that. I like the first period over 1.5. I grabbed minus 118 at FanDuel, but I didn't grab full game over. Didn't like anything with the side, of course, of this inflated number of price. But there is a player that I have targeted for 2 different plays for the bargain bin coming up in a little bit.
All right, good stuff. So we got the bargain bin for this game coming up for Alex B. Smith with the Devils and the Kraken. And like I said, tricky game this one is here in the. But there are a few props that are of interest here. Again, it's difficult with New Jersey struggling, but Stefan Nason's always got that. Paul Cotter's been one of the guys that we've talked about him for New Jersey, where he's a streaky player. He's got actually 2 goals in the last 4 games for them. For Seattle, I'm going to keep going to the well with Kakko as long as he stays on the top line. I do like we've seen some positive signs from him. Jaden Schwartz has been good, certainly lately. Chandler Stevenson, after a cold start, started to heat up as well for Seattle. Goals in back-to-back games for him. So those are a few of the props I'd maybe target here in this game. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Thanks for joining us here on this Monday. A reminder, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Make sure you sign up and subscribe. We are a little over a week away from our first betcast of 2025, and it is a Patreon exclusive live betcast next Tuesday, January 14th. And the only way to tune into that betcast or join us on the stream is to be a Patreon member. So make sure you sign up, just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, all the bonus content. on the page. And, of course, the daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Our first Patreon exclusive live betcast in a week, Tuesday, January 14th. So make sure you sign up now. We've hit the 200 Patreon members mark. We thank you guys for that. And again, your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show. Just $10 per month. Sign up now before that betcast comes your way next week. Patreon.com/IceGuys.
Yeah, make sure you tell your friends about the show, tell your coworkers about the show, and also tell people you don't know about the show by wearing some of the fancy merch over at the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Today is the last day to save 25% off of all items. Just hit the redeem button at the top of the page, add things to your cart, and at checkout, 25% will be taken out. So don't delay on that. That ends at midnight Eastern. Yeah, midnight Eastern, looking at that. Yeah, so 25% off ends at midnight Eastern. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, Tatar was with Seattle, Bailey, last year, briefly. Second half of the year. He started the year in Colorado, then he went to Seattle last year. But he was with Seattle for a brief period. It wasn't there for long, half a season. But yeah, Thomas Tatar was with. So if you buy into the former player angle, now he's with New Jersey facing Seattle, his former team. Then maybe he's only playing on the fourth line right now, though, for Sheldon Keefe and the New Jersey Devils. But still an angle you can consider for sure, playing against one of his old teams, Thomas Tatar, tonight in that game. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back in just a moment. We got Bargain Bin Special of the night and Best Bet coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsman, Raise Your Game, Tailgater Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page.
Shout out to all our great Ice Guys sponsors. And, of course, it's a solid fire Monday here on the Ice Guys show. Boston Hemp Inc. Get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. I like that we have that original ad still in the rotation every Monday, and I can tell a lot of our viewers and listeners like that as well. Yeah. I have to bring up Melissa's comment. Apparently, she's watching and or listening to the show live right now as she's doing some grocery shopping in some Ice Guys gear. And apparently she said someone in line or something at the grocery store said, I listened to that show too. Wow.
Whoa.
Holy
That's
shit.
That's awesome.
That's fucking amazing. Wow.
At a Jules?
Wow.
Melissa, you got to type in if that was Jules or not.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see on, but that's
nice.
I tell you what, the Ice Guys movement.
That's amazing.
There's no borders.
Yeah.
To the Ice Guys show.
That's why it's important for you guys to buy the merch and rock the gear so you can all join in solidarity.
Absolutely. There you go. And it lets you know that you are part of the fam here with the Ice Guys. And like I said, we're proud of we're almost at 6,000 YouTube subscribers right now. We're closing in on that number. So we're going to get to 10,000 at some point, and that's going to be a big day when we hit that 10,000 mark. So like I said, we appreciate the support. Can't say enough about it from you guys and how you're here every day and tuning in every single day. We appreciate it very much. Just like we appreciate the Bargain Bin Special, the night segment, because it's been so damn profitable since we brought it into the show at the beginning of last year. Alex, we'll start with you with a Bargain Bin Special for this Monday night. What do you got?
You got to turn that on first. We're looking at the Seattle, New Jersey game late night tonight. And I said there's one player that I have circled, and it's Vince Dunn. I think he's going to have a big game tonight, and there's two things that really stuck out. I like him to get a goal tonight. He gives anytime goal scorer at plus 650. But I've noticed he's been on a nice little point streak as well. He's had assists in 5 straight games. So give me him to get over 1.5 points plus 560 as well. So it's a little crazy. Vince Dunn anytime goal plus 650. Vince Dunn over 1.5 points plus 560. Those are my 2 bargain bin specials here for Monday night.
All right, good stuff. Vince Dunn, good pick because he has been one of the good even though Seattle continues to have consistency issues, a lot of the offense lately Vince Dunn has a say in it and a part in it. So Vince Dunn props here for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special of the night is actually going to come from that same game. And I'm just taking someone from the same team, actually. And I'm just taking someone that's, looking to make it now 3 straight games with a goal. And he's someone that can be very streaky. And we know there's offense in him. Someone that scored 16 goals each of the last 2 years with Vegas. He had a 21-goal season a few years ago. Chandler Stevenson. We're going to take him tonight for bargain bin special of the night. What a price. Plus 550 at FanDuel for Chandler Stevenson to score a goal tonight for the Seattle Kraken. Again, he has scored in back-to-back games entering tonight. He scored in the Vancouver game, and he scored in the Edmonton game in the last 2 for Seattle. And we'll see if he can make it 3 straight games with a goal tonight. Chandler Stevenson, Seattle, plus 550 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we go with that Washington Buffalo first period over 1.5 minus 130 is the best price available over at FanDuel. They said 8 of the last 9 meetings have cashed over in the first period. Washington's getting hot in the first 20 minutes again. So let's go Caps Sabres. First period over is my Monday best bet.
All right, Washington Buffalo first period over for Alex B. Smith with his best bet here for this Monday NHL slate. My best bet for this Monday card. I'm going to go to that Vancouver-Montreal over, full game over, because we've actually got some series history. More recent, long-term, it's 5-4-1 to the over head-to-head, but 4 of the last 5 meetings with the Canucks and the Habs have gone over the total. And again, we have the system play in effect with the Canucks off that shutout loss to Nashville on Friday night. The system's been very good. First period over, full game over. We swept with Pittsburgh versus Carolina in the system play yesterday, with the first period over and the full game over, both cashing in that game, with Carolina off a shutout loss. We will go back to the well with it here. Canucks, Canadians, over 5.5, minus 120. That is going to be my best bet here for this Monday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate it very much. Hit the like button. I just want to make sure I get this on screen once before the end of the show. There's your January live betcast schedule. Patreon exclusive next Tuesday, January 14th. Free for all, or one free open to the public betcast this month, January 21st, also a Tuesday, and then the Tuesday, January 28th to wrap up the month, another Patreon exclusive live betcast. So 3 betcasts coming up here in January. The next 3 Tuesdays after tomorrow, betcast Tuesdays coming up right here on the Ice Guys. We again, great times, great people, live bets, few beers. Watch the games, shoot the shit. It's great stuff with their great viewer and listening audience. So again, make sure you DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast for any of those Tuesdays if you want to join us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will be back with you tomorrow on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.